One Piece has had some epic action moments, and some of them have racked up a bill that can drain an entire country's economy. So grab your checkbooks because here are 10 battles that left more than just bruises and broken dreams. And we will give an accurate estimate of each battle in berries. Number 10. Starting off with a sandy showdown in Alabasta. Luffy versus Crocodile. This wasn't just a battle for the kingdom's survival. This fight was capable of draining Alabasta's economy dry, along with its water supply. Now, Crocodile wasn't just trying to take over Alabasta. He was holding the entire country hostage by cutting off their water supply. But after battling 3 times, Luffy finally passed his first test in the ground line and gained a bounty of 100 million berries by the end of it. Ultimately, the people were liberated, the drought was over, and Crocodile was defeated. But the kingdom, well, let's just say they had quite the reconstruction phase ahead of them, one that could cost somewhere around 100 million berries to fix. But now, let's move from sand to stone, because next, we're heading over to Dressrosa for a clash between a man with mountains of muscle and one with mountains of ambition. And trust me, the bill's only gonna keep rising from here. Number 9. We're talking about Zoro versus Pika next. When Pika went full giant stone golem mode, Zoro knew it was time to bring out the big moves, and the results were, well, expensive. Let's start with Pika's transformation. This guy didn't just grow big. Thanks to his Ishi no Mi powers, he became an actual mountain of rock, towering over the entire city of Dressrosa like a stone skyscraper. And you'd think that would make him harder to hit, right? Well, yeah, but not for Zoro. Zoro sliced through mountain-sized Pika, leaving him in pieces along with the entire landscape. Buildings were leveled, roads were torn apart, and Dressrosa had to start rethinking its infrastructure. Between replacing roads, rebuilding structures, and patching up a massive canyon left by the aftermath, the repair bill could reach 700 million berries. Zoro pretty much redefined cutting costs by cutting up an entire mountain, but if you thought that was the peak of Dressrosa's destruction, hold on, because next up, we've got the real ringleader behind all the chaos.
おいソプラノ野郎忘れるな俺はいずれ世界一の大剣豪になる男だ
Number 8. Zoro might have carved a Pika, but it's gonna take Luffy to bring down the king of Dressrosa. The battle between Luffy and Doflamingo wasn't just a fight, it was demolition derby, with Dressrosa caught in the middle. Let's start with the infamous birdcage, Doflamingo's cruel little trap. This wasn't just a regular cage, it was a web of razor-sharp strings from the Ito no Mi powers, shrinking in by the minute and tearing through anything unlucky enough to be inside it. Then Luffy activated Gear 4 and bounced through the sky like a giant cannonball, smashing through the razor strings before emerging victorious by landing a King Kong gun attack on Doflamingo. After this city-wide brawl, let's just say Dressrosa's economy would be in shambles after footing a bill of around 2 billion berries. But for King Riku and the people of Dressrosa, freedom from Doflamingo was worth every berry. So that's it for Dressrosa. If you thought that clash was high stakes, let's take it up to the clouds because our next battle takes place in the heavens. And it's electric. Number 7. When a rubbery pirate faces off against a self-proclaimed god of lightning, you know you're in for quite a show. Our next battle is Luffy versus Enel in Skypiea. And spoiler alert, this battle didn't just break Enel's ego, it broke the economy of Skypiea. Now Enel didn't just throw a few sparks around, he could launch massive lightning attacks. However, Luffy's rubber body was immune to Enel's power. And long story short, Luffy obliterated Enel's ego, freed the people of Skypiea, and the Golden Bell of Shandora. Well, let's just say that bell took a pretty hard hit. After this little divine intervention, the Skypians were looking at one heck of a repair bill at around 3 billion berries. So was it worth it? Absolutely! Skypiea got its freedom back, the people regained access to their land, and Luffy gave Enel a permanent reminder that his electric ego was no match for a little rubber and guts. Now you can say that the bills are really heating up, or could be sending chills down your spine. Maybe it's both at the same time when you consider what happens when you give two admirals an entire island to settle their differences. Number 6. We're talking about the legendary clash between Admirals Akainu and Aokiji on Punk Hazard. These two admirals fought for 10 days straight, and when they were done, the island looked like the world's most extreme weather experiment. Akainu, the lava-wielding hothead, and Aokiji, the ice-cold strategist, turned Punk Hazard into the ultimate fire and ice theme park. One half became a blazing inferno, the other an arctic tundra. This wasn't just any damage, their powers were so intense that the entire climate of the island shifted permanently. For Akainu and Aokiji, it was a duel that determined the next fleet admiral. But for the world government, it probably created a few new policies about admiral battles and revealed a nightmare invoice that would cost at least 5 billion berries to restore Punk Hazard to its original state. But if you think that was chaotic, our next battle brought the heat differently. Who knew that landing the most satisfying punch in One Piece history could result in a full-on survival mission against an entire marine squadron?
ここはまだ火も氷もないただの腐った島だった。だから当時赤犬と青生地はこのパンクハザードを決闘の場に選んだんだ。
Number 5. Next up, when Luffy decked a celestial dragon in the face at Sabaody Archipelago, he didn't just leave a mark on the so-called god. He triggered an all-out marine assault. Cause, let's face it, when a pirate attacks a celestial dragon, the marines don't exactly take it lightly. So here's how it all went down. After Luffy's punch, the marines unleashed Kizaru, Sentomaru, and an entire squadron of pacifistas to the scene. What followed was a chaotic free-for-all that turned Sabaody from a bustling tourist spot into a battleground full of chaos in a matter of minutes. Sabaody ended up being a brutal reminder of the Grand Line's dangers, leaving the Straw Hat crew separated by Kuma for 2 years. Luffy's punch may have been priceless in satisfaction, but it came with a pretty hefty price tag. Considering Sabaody is a government-controlled island, you can bet this incident would cost around 6 billion berries just to keep it in check. But after the separation, the crew came back stronger and ready for anything, even pulling off a raid against one of the most powerful forces in the New World. Number 4. We're headed to Whole Cake Island next, where the Straw Hats pulled off a rescue mission that turned out into an all-out war, right in the middle of Big Mom's desert kingdom. It all started with a wedding cake. When her dream wedding cake got ruined, so did Whole Cake Island. The Straw Hats' cake sabotage didn't just upset Big Mom, they practically triggered a culinary apocalypse. And then there was the Germa 66 invasion. Raiju and her siblings weren't exactly polite guests, bringing in high-tech weaponry and blasting through Whole Cake Island's infrastructure. Of course, Big Mom's forces retaliated, and suddenly Whole Cake Island was hosting a full-on war. By the time Luffy took on Big Mom's forces, the Empire was left with a hefty price tag of 8 billion berries to clean up after the Straw Hats. That's insane! Anyone willing to help foot the bill? Now we're finally at the big 3 of the list, and they're not at the top for no reason. The battles here were so intense that entire islands were deserted because of them. Just imagine how much that would cost. Number 3. Without further ado, at number 3 is a brawl that left the Marines needing a new courthouse. Luffy versus Lucci at Aeneas Lobby. Now when Luffy shows up to save a crewmate, we know he's not exactly concerned about collateral damage. And this time, he didn't just bring his fists, he brought his Gear 2 and Gear 3 abilities, along with a whole lot of destruction. By the time Luffy was done with his Gatling attacks and third gear punches, you could pretty much see the repair bill rising as they fought. Luffy not only took down one of the most powerful CP9 agents, but he also gave Enies Lobby a free makeover. Of course, this makeover came with a price, a trauma-inducing one of 12 billion berries. At this point, just look for Jeff Bezos to save you from this bill. So we've seen how Enies Lobby became the new marine scrapyard, and you could be wondering, it couldn't get any worse. Well, it can. Picture an army of samurai, pirates, and minks, all storming the fortress of one of the 4 emperors. Number 2. At number 2 is a battle that's been brewing for decades, the raid on Onigashima, one of the most explosive battles to ever rock the One Piece world. When Luffy, Eustace Kid, Law, Zoro, and the whole gang went up against Kaido and Big Mom, and they brought the house down. Literally. Kaido decided to lift Onigashima and float it toward the Flower Capital as part of his master plan. However, the time Luffy was done with him, Onigashima was brought back to the sea and it eventually sank. In the end, Kaido wanted a world of chaos, but what he got was a bill of 18 billion berries that would plunge him into a world of eternal debt. Fun fact, this is around 4 times his bounty, and is likely one of the highest repair bills on record. But even this Clash of Legends pales in comparison to what's next, because now we're at the pinnacle. The greatest battle in One Piece history, where the seas shook and the world held its breath. Number 1. At number 1 is a showdown where the stakes couldn't have been higher. When the execution of Ace was finally put into action, Whitebeard paid Marineford a visit, and trust me, he came with a much more than a polite conversation to offer. Using his Gura Gura no Mi abilities, he unleashed massive earthquakes that cracked the very earth, caused tsunamis, and shook Marine HQ down to its foundations. And it wasn't just Whitebeard bringing the pain. The admirals, Akainu, Okiji, and Kizaru each took turns unleashing their powers, making Marineford an absolute hazard zone. When you add Akainu's molten lava fist, Okiji's ice walls, and Kizaru's lasers, you know the place was pretty much toast from every angle. Oh, and let's not forget that in Whitebeard's final moments, he unleashed one last quake that split Marineford right down the middle. That's quite a lot that happened there, but looking at the damages to the harbor, the countless ships and weapons lost, we're looking at a heart-stopping cost of 50 billion berries. However, the true cost of this battle is insurmountable. Whitebeard and Ace's death hit everyone hard, and the ripple effect sent shockwaves through the world, ushering in a new beginning of the Great Pirate Era and leaving a mark on everyone involved.
One Piece wa jitsuzai suru!
One Piece currently has its share of expensive battles, but there's still more to come. For example, who knows what kind of chaos could occur when someone like Loki gets released? But until that time, check out the next video where we'll look at 10 other pirates who are equally as terrifying.